Hi, my name is Stephen Lloyd, and I teach AP Human Geography at Butler High School. And I want to welcome you to this presentation. I plan to give you an overview of AP Human Geography and how we teach it at Butler High School. I want to show you this slide first and invite you to, first of all, use the QR code or the bit.ly that you see below here to access this presentation. I'm going to go through each of the slides in the presentation, but there are some links within the presentation that you may want to explore on your own to provide additional information that you might want to have access to. So go ahead and take this opportunity to access the QR code or the bit.ly while I share some additional information about myself. I have been teaching at Butler for 25 years, and I've been teaching this course, Human Geography, now for 24 years. And in fact, the class has only existed for 25 years. So I have been teaching it all except for 1 year that the class has even been offered by College Board. And so I have quite a bit of experience teaching the course. I've seen a lot of change, and I have learned a lot, to say the least, but and continue to learn a lot. So it's constantly changing. But it is a very enjoyable class to teach, and I think if you ask most of my students, it's an enjoyable class to take. So I want to share a little bit of information with you about the course itself and about the experience that my students have in the class. Let me begin by saying that for those of you that are parents of current students in the class, that these are the preferred methods of communication, as you see there, my email address, and even for those of you that are just interested, parents or students who might be considering taking this class in the future, if you have questions that you would like to reach out and ask about the class, feel free to shoot me an email or a Parent Square message. You can use the QR code there you see on this screen to access Parent Square, and you can message me through Parent Square. Also, for those of you that are currently have students enrolled in the class, you can become an observer of the Canvas course if you were not aware of that already. And the information there below, there's a link, the Canvas Parent Observer account instructions. There's a link there. You can see an active link that you can go to if you use the bit.ly or the QR code for this presentation, that takes you to a set of instructions on how to become an observer of a Canvas course. So hopefully you can take advantage of that. If not in this course, then in some other course that you may be wanting to follow your student in. But that is a nice feature to have. Let's see. Oh, I clicked on the link. These are the instructions for the CMS Parent Observer account instructions. I don't know if that link actually is visible to you. I think this is still the presentation that's still visible to you. Okay. All right, so let me share with you who actually takes Human Geography at Butler. The class is open to anyone. It's open enrollment, as are most of the AP courses at Butler and in CMS for that matter. But Human Geography is one of the courses for which there are no prerequisites. It is considered to be one of the entry-level AP classes of all of the College Board courses. I don't really consider that to be true. However, in my experience teaching it, there are some pretty sophisticated abstract concepts in human geography that I'm not quite sure ninth graders are ready for. But I have taught all grade levels in the class, as you see there, 9th through 12th. Although overwhelmingly the majority of the students I've taught in the 24 years have been 11th and 12th graders. And I'll kind of explain why that is in the next slide. But I do teach the course like a college level course. It is largely teacher directed. The students do work in groups, but it is largely a reading and class discussion. Some call it lecture, but I don't like for it to be that. I like for it to be very interactive class discussion based on the reading that the students have done. You can see there, I consider this to be a reading intensive course. That is the number one skill that is a predictor of success for students in this class. Not just the ability of the student to read, but the willingness of the student to do the nightly reading assignments. And reading is certainly one of those skills we are seeing great declines in, and placing great emphasis in trying to build up and maintain in our education system for sure. But in a college level course, in an AP course, the number one predictor of success in this class in particular is reading. There's a writing component, of course. There's a free response question section of the AP exam that is 50% of the grade on the exam. But as far as the writing difficulty, I would say, compared to some of the other AP exams, it's not as challenging as some of the other AP courses. So we do work on the writing component. We do practice the writing. There are writing requirements on the tests, and we work on the writing a lot, but the reading is the number one challenge for most of the students. And some of the other predictors of success you see there listed below. I would say students that have never had an honors level class, have not succeeded in an honors level class before, might want to consider taking honors level classes before they step up and take this challenge of an AP level course at any level, whether it's 9th or even 11th and 12th grade. But with all of that said, it is open enrollment, and anybody who's willing to, wants to take the challenge of an AP class or is just interested in the subject of human geography is welcome to take the course. All students can benefit from taking the course, either content-wise or academically skill-wise. So it is open to all comers, to say the least. With that said, we definitely see a higher level of success in students who have some degree of background knowledge in some of the previous social studies classes, starting with world history in 9th grade, American history in 10th grade, and the civics course in 11th grade. Any of those provide students with some background that's helpful in the class. Not necessarily all of those in previous AP courses. The environmental science has a lot of parallel topics in human geography. There's a lot of, I consider human geography a social science. I'll talk more about that in a minute. And we have 2 AP economics classes, micro and micro, which both tend to be 11th and 12th grade level classes. So it is generally, students will take the human geography before those AP economics classes, but not necessarily. And AP government is often a class that 10th graders will take. And so I do have a lot of students that will have the AP government before I get them in human geography. So both from a skill level standpoint, skill development standpoint, and a content standpoint, any or all of those classes will benefit a student before they take human geography. And likewise, students who take human geography will benefit in any of those classes from having taken human geography. So they all kind of feed into each other. So, I don't want to be greedy about it and tell students to take those classes before mine, because those teachers could very just as easily have students tell students to take my class before theirs, so that students would do better in their classes. So it's they all benefit from each other. So I'll put it that way to be fair. But there are some pretty, like I said, sophisticated, abstract geographic concepts that come easier to students who have some familiarity with concepts like globalization, migration, diffusion, distribution, economic development, sustainability. When those are brand new, unfamiliar terms or concepts, human geography tends to be more difficult. So, speaking of which, often the first question and the biggest question that students and more likely parents have is, what the heck is human geography? Particularly people my age or even slightly younger than I am. This course never existed when we were in school. It's a relatively new, about 25-year-old course, as I was saying. Geography, from our experience, geography when we were in school was like learning states and capitals and memorizing countries and capital cities and coloring maps, and that's what geography was. Focusing mostly on answering the question of where things are. But now we have these little things that tell us where things are now. GPS is wonderful, but students learning where things are seems kind of ridiculous now, obsolete, to say the least, with the technology that we have. So geography has had to evolve, and with the technology, and it's a much different type of subject now. And as I mentioned, it's more of a scientific subject now. It's very scientific. In fact, the definition actually has the word science in it. It's the scientific study of the location of people and human activities, human behavior, and the relationship between human behavior and the physical environment. So it's kind of this, how does the environment impact human behavior, and how does human behavior impact the environment? So it's kind of a two-way street. Or to put it maybe a little more simply, where are things and why are things where they are? And the simplest of all ways to put it is the why of where. In fact, that has been an answer on the AP exam before. AP Human Geography is the study of the why of where. Why are things where they are? And that is the most basic, simple, almost too simple explanation of what human geography is. It's the science of why things are where they are. I tell my students it's a lot more complicated than that, but spend all year trying to answer that question. What is human geography? So what is it that answers that question? I'll skip over that previous slide for just a minute. We break it down into really 6 main content units. The first one is really just kind of an introduction, how to think geographically, what that means to think geographically. But we study, there's a unit on population or demographics. The science of demographics is very mathematic, data-driven kinds of things, census data. And then cultural patterns and processes. Culture, this is one of the topics that students really, excuse me, get interested in, studying cultures and what makes cultures different and how when cultures come into contact with each other they interact or don't interact with each other. Political geography, agricultural geography, urban geography, and then economic development and industrial geography. So those are kind of, and a lot of those last ones I kind of combine into what I call economic geography. Agricultural and industrial is all kind of combined into a unit on economic geography. So it's the political behavior of humans, cultural behavior, economic behavior of humans. So it's how geography impacts human behavior is really in all of those different realms of human behavior. So there's a lot of psychology in it as well. Psychology, anthropology, sociology, economics, political science. It's basically every social study, every social science combined into one class, and so it's a lot of different topics and subjects combined in, which is why having some of those other classes prior to this one benefits students so much. But that's the basic course overview there you see on that slide, the unit breakdown that we cover before the AP exam.